Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Kuya P. Young Rock. One of my favorite shows is back on NBC with season 2. Before the season dropped, I had the opportunity to speak with the cast. So check it out here on the NRW, as well as the whole junket that I'll also have on the channel as well. And then after you're done with all that, head over to NBC and enjoy season 2 of Young Rock.
I decided a long time ago that family comes first. My dad was always a hero to me.
Nice takeout, Dad.
And my grandmother.
Fist, slap, pick your poison.
No one was tougher than her.
FBI!
Leave me alone.
You can't be here. You're under house arrest in an extortion case.
This is a house.
It has to be your house.
My dad and Tony Atlas were the first black tag team champions. How cool is that?
I'm on top, which means you're on top.
Oh, yeah?
Naturally, people are gonna want to challenge you.
I got into a lot of trouble.
For starting a fight.
No, for stealing the janitor's ladder.
Someone call my wife!
Growing up was intense.
Hey, how's your mom?
She's doing fine. I'll give you a ride home today, okay?
Went up to Canada and played in the CFL.
Johnson, you're offside!
I'm not.
You are!
I am?
It was always for the next place, the next job.
How much cash you got?
$8. I got $7.
But realized that there's a different way. The universe was sending me a message.
I want to get into the wrestling business, and I need you to train me.
Maybe I don't want that life for him.
Wrestling is in his blood. He's going to be great.
Wrestling is all about
Trust.
There's another lesson for you. Can't trust everyone.
Facing one of the toughest challenges of my life.
What do you want to do?
I'm tired of waiting for other people to decide what happens to me.
I feel like I'm witnessing your transition from boy to man.
Do you want to go grab a drink?
I'm 15.
One day, you will be a champ.
He pushed me to do things I never would have done. Like my cookbook. Can you cook what The Rock is cooking? Stanley Tucci Award winning. Remember, nothing is off limits.
How are things in the bedroom?
That's too far.
Yeah, I felt that.
Okay, hi, this is Stephen Mark from Honolulu Star Advertiser. Welcome to you all, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Steve.
Anna, I'm kind of wondering, you play this larger-than-life character who I think through the show is finally getting her recognition as, the first woman promoter of wrestling and everything. And I'm kind of wondering, in Samoa, was she already very well known for this role? How was it to realize this character for your own culture?
Yes, I think Leah now. I've had feedback from people in my community that really weren't aware of how big Leah Mavia was and how she was the driving force behind Peter Mavia and the wrestling promotion. Very little was known about her, very little until Young Rock came through. Not just Samoa, but I think the world.
Yeah.
It was always about Peter Mavia, but very little about Leah. And how, so gratefully, this has really brought her out in the open so that people realize how really great this was. And it's very sad that she wasn't recognized as who she was, the first promoter in terms of the Palangi, the white males industry.
Sure.
So it's sad. Even when I was trying to research her character, there was not much written about it apart from the racketeering business, but very little. And I was really grateful and a bit sad that she wasn't known how woman she was.
That's interesting. And Matthew, you get to play this huge, wonderful, amazing character, and also very sensitive. I'm kind of wondering, there's that tough side, the wrestling, and then the softer side. How are you kind of, bringing those two aspects of the character together?
Yeah, and it's really a treat to be able to do that, and that was the one thing that was told to me very early on by Dwayne was that side of him. He loved kids and he loved sort of influencing, young people. And so, yeah, the physicality of wrestling and that sort of character part obviously was a little easier. But sitting down and having these moments with little Dewey, that not only did we have in season 1, but we're going to have some of that in season 2 as well, was a real treat for me. Not only to read it on the page, but to then act that out and to have those scenes and have those moments, on screen. I tell you what a treat. It was so nice to work with Adrian. He has that sweet quality about him that, he almost looks up at you like he's little Dwayne, sponging it up from you. So it was really cool and kind of made it easier for me portraying Andre, giving that sensitive side of it.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Sabina with Nerds of Keller. Awesome to talk to you. I'm a huge fan of the show. And this is my question for you. I really love how this season really kicks off with sort of like Leah really passing on the reins to Atta. Can you share a little bit with us about, working on the sort of character legacy changes, and did you talk to Atta to really know how to bring that to life and how that really happened?
Thank you for the question. I had very little conversations with Atta in terms of her relationship with her mother, apart from when we initially met at the audition phase. But I think from my own experiences in terms of motherhood, passing on around legacy to your children. So that experience more or less helped me build the character, as well as the written script, how the writers had put it. I think it was more around just digging deep on how Leah had a relationship had a relationship with Atta, that it was just a very loving, nurturing experience between the two, that it wasn't really hard to do that. So just digging deep from where I come from, in my own experience and what was written, it wasn't too difficult. And again, working with Stacey, so our relationship anyway made it so easier to try and portray that and get it across on screen. So it wasn't a difficult experience. It was just great from the direction point of view, how it was written, and from personal experience and working with Stacey, who plays Atta. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Is it me? I don't know.
Yes, it's your
All
turn.
right. Hello, everybody. Kuya P with Nerds Rule the World. Anna, Matthew, you guys are amazing. Make me smile. I love this show. You both play iconic characters in the wrestling world. As a huge wrestling fan, I just want to say thank you guys. You guys kill it. So when you got the go ahead for season 2, what were you both looking forward to the most on a professional level and a personal level when you got back on set? Thank you.
Well, obviously, professionally, you want the character to sort of keep moving along. I'm always sort of taken back because it's such an ensemble, and the Andre and the rest of the wrestlers are sort of a secondary character. So we understanding that there's going to be, we're going to go a couple episodes and not know what's happening with Andre and the other guys. So I think you're going to see some of the same Andre. You're going to see some of the Andre who still cares very much about little Dewey and how he's growing up, making sure that he sort of still instills sort of his knowledge. So that was important to me that we kind of continued that sort of side of it. It's personally, I can't tell you how exciting it is to, and humbling and honored I am to be able to play this character. It truly does amaze me all the time that I am playing this. I'll be following things on Instagram where I see things and pictures of Andre, and to stop it for a second and go, I'm playing this guy, I'm portraying this character that people adored and loved. It really blows my mind. The cool thing for me is, like I said, I've had some good feedback on it. I know that I don't look exactly like Andre did. I don't even act sometimes like he did. But I think if I can sort of encapsulate some of the love that Andre literally had for people, if I can get that across as we move through the stories, that to me is a win.
I'm so excited about season 2. I really, really am excited about it because there's you see more of Leah. Leah is exposed more and a bit more about who she was that nobody knows really. You see more wrestling. You see bigger names in the wrestling field that those of us that remember back then. So it's going to be so exciting, funnier. Characters, people who back then more about. So there's more about on the professional level on who these people were, especially Leah Mavia. She's such a badass woman. I just love her. And just playing her is just really an awful. So yeah, season 2 is going to be more exciting because these characters will be. Oh no, these characters, the people who these stories have been told are going to be told. People will know who they were, how iconic they are in terms of how Dwayne Johnson is now and how the world really perceived the wrestling industry.
I love it. Thank you so much, Anna and Matthew. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Sci-Fi Vision.
Hi guys, thanks for talking to us. Playing a real person, and obviously both of them have passed, but does it put any added pressure on the role, kind of making sure that you get it right? And how do you go about approaching it different in that perspective?
Yeah, for me, it really starts and ends with Dwayne's perspective. I don't know if it ends, but it definitely starts with that. It starts with the way that Dwayne perceived Andre. And so because that's so important when I'm playing, with Adrian as an 11-year-old boy, and that he's playing Dwayne. That's Dwayne's perspective. It really starts with that, and so, as I've said before, to Dwayne, Andre was Uncle Andre. He was the guy that he could climb on, and he could, and then obviously later on in life, he did impart his wisdom. So that's kind of where it starts. And if I can get that right, then I'm ahead of the ball game. Obviously, when I first started the role, trying to get his mannerisms a little bit, his speech pattern, thing to have a French accent, but then to sort of make it when he had this huge tongue where he was sort of hard to understand. Those things kind of come into play as I prepare for things. So there's the physicality part of it like that I hope I'm, doing justice with, gaining the weight that I did. All those things lead to the physical part of it, but the emotional part of it, like I said, it came a lot from Dwayne's perspective of how he saw Andre.
Yeah. In addition to that, when I auditioned, some of the feedback that Utter Johnson gave was when I auditioned and we met on screen on Zoom. She said, "Oh, she doesn't look a bit like my mother. She's not like my mother at all." After a few episodes, when I was in costume and played her mother, she came back and gave me feedback. She said, "You are exactly like my mother. You are exactly like my mother." And for me, what an honor.
Yeah, that has to make you feel good.
And as I said before, very little was known about her. So it's feedback from both Dwayne Johnson and Utter Johnson that really helps me anyway in terms of portraying this character come to life, is the feedback that we get. And yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm loving the show. Season 2 is getting right into it. I'm gonna start with you, Uli. First, you're a fellow Leo, so I'm always have to root for that. But I mean, when you look at this show, and I know it has this backstory of Dwayne running for president, like how much in reality do you perceive him to be somebody that could do that? It could be the president of the United States, as you get to see his backstory and know him, of course, from working on the project.
I mean, it's Dwayne Johnson, so he could do whatever. You know, he's pretty much come from next to nothing to where he is now. So running for presidency doesn't seem like that too much of a stretch, in my opinion. But you know, that's probably something that he has mentioned in the past that he's had thoughts of it. But what I know for a fact is that he doesn't take it lightly, and he wouldn't step into that role without great consideration and understanding the weight of what that looks like. So I don't know. That's probably something Dwayne can only answer.
And I'll keep going on. I guess I keep going around.
Up next, we're going to go to Jamie, and then if we have time, we'll go back for round 2, if that works for everyone. And then after Jamie, we'll go ahead and do Stephen.
Hi, guys. Thanks for talking to us. What I want to know is, the three of you kind of come together to, I guess, make sure that your portrayals are sort of consistent, because as much as you need to be Dwayne, you need to seem like each other. Do you kind of talk about that, your mannerisms, things like that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all stayed in the same hotel together while we filmed this. And I feel like a bigger part of that is on the casting. I don't think we ever really had conversations throughout filming. At least, from our end, I think we really are so similar already in a lot of ways. And we just kind of get along. We hang out together, and, it's in the writing too. And I don't think we really stress too much about trying to make sure that it all aligned. I'm sure Adrian or Uli can help elaborate on that more.
Adrian?
Yeah. I think us three didn't really have to really get together to talk about specifically that. We kind of just, while we were hanging out together and doing these different events with each other, I think it kind of naturally did it itself with like the similarities. But I think it all just put itself together, and we didn't really have to talk about it too much.
Yeah. Me? Sorry, I thought we.
Did you have anything to add?
I guess, yeah. I mean, probably the challenge is Adrian has a difficult job in setting up, everything. So he's the kind of the anchoring point for us, and I have the advantage of kind of looking at Adrian's performances and Bradley's performances and kind of tweaking anything to that. For my own performance, but generally speaking, yeah, what Bradley said is true. It's really from the casting. So,
all right.
Props to the casting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Stephen calling from Honolulu. How are you all doing? Hey, I guess my question is kind of really directed to Adrian. I think that your life really very much parallels what's the role that you play. You're a youngster, you're surrounded by colorful characters, and I'm just kind of wondering whether you reflect on that a little bit. And I would imagine even some of the people that you met in terms of the crew and people like that, or maybe some of the colorful characters too. And I'm wondering if you could maybe reflect on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that, me and little Dewey's character are pretty similar in their ways, because I've said this a lot before, but me and young Dwayne, when he was 10, 11, and 12, we all loved being around the bigger guys, our dad's friends, or anybody that's older than us. We both really enjoyed spending time with the people who were older, and me being around the cast members, all the wrestlers and stuff. They were very very nice, and I think it was really awesome being with all of them together and having the scenes with them.
Your father's an actor too, right? So you're rather accustomed to this kind of situation, or not?
Well, my dad, and like, he really wants to do acting, so he'll do a couple like small projects here and there. He has done a couple of things, but I know he really does enjoy doing acting when he can.
Okay. Thank you.
Up next, we'll have Sabina, and then after that, we will have Patrick.
Hi, how's everyone?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. I just gotta say, I'm a really big fan of the show. I loved the Christmas special. I was like, I need more. And specifically, I love how y'all intersected in that episode. I think in this season, it's kind of priming up for Dwayne's path to being a wrestler, and I think it kind of connects Adrian and Uli a bit in that way. Can you guys share a little bit about kind of starting to show that? And Adrian, for you specifically, like, what was it like shooting those fun wrestling scenes that the season opens with? And Uli, will we expect you to be hitting the mat?
Ooh, well, yeah. I think the other wrestling scenes were really, really cool to watch. I find it awesome to watch while we're shooting, and sometimes even when we're not shooting and they might just be practicing and stuff. I think it's really cool watching how they're doing all of their moves, and really kind of admiring what they're doing. So yeah, I think it's very cool what they're doing, and I love like watching them and seeing what they do.
Did you have fun shooting your scenes?
Yes, I had so much fun. I didn't want to leave the place. It was so awesome.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's the most, well, yes. So you can expect to see some Dwayne on the mat, myself on the mat this season. Feels like a natural progression, obviously. And it is so much fun. I think what's cool is, seeing Adrian in his timeline just being so, firstly surrounded by wrestling, but really loving the environment and being surrounded by wrestlers and the whole theatrics, and then the behind the scenes of really getting to know who the wrestlers are, and men with huge hearts and not only just great athletes, but great men too. So, and then carrying on into my era, it just continues. So it feels like a full circle kind of moment for DJ. That help?
Is it my turn now?
Thank you.
Okay. It is. You're up.
All right, yo, Yuli, Adrian, Bradley. I'm so honored to see y'all. Thank you for your time. Y'all make me smile whenever I watch this show. I can relate with it in so many levels. For this new season, when you got the go that this was going to happen, y'all were going to be coming back. What were you looking forward to the most character-wise, beyond, I'm sure, seeing your set family, seeing everybody again, for your character in your particular time periods? What were you looking forward to most when you got back to doing the character? Adrian, I'll kick it off with you.
All right. I'd say I was definitely looking forward to the next stories that Dwayne had for when he was a kid, because I know it would only get like crazier, and it would only get more exciting and exciting as it goes. So I was really looking forward to just going back and shooting all the time, and just making those scenes happen was just the thought of just acting for this season was awesome.
So Bradley,
I think I can second that. When we left the first season, I think I realized how much bigger that was than just a show. We really do feel like a family, and I missed them so much that whole time in between. And we all go back to our lives and we do our normal things, but we're really looking forward to getting back together. So, I was really hoping to be able to have some more scenes together, which is so cool to have that Christmas episode where, me and Uli and Adrian are all in the same scene. So we were shooting together every day, and that was so awesome. And on a personal level, I think I really was looking forward to my character being more involved, maybe not wrestling, but being more involved in the wrestling atmosphere. And we got a good bit of that this season, which I was very excited to be a part of.
Dope. Yuli.
The wrestling, man. I just love it, man. It is the most, I grew up playing sports, playing rugby union. So, I love the contact. I love that kind of thing. And I had the most fun. I was just looking forward to that whole journey, because a lot of people don't actually know that, he didn't just go from not succeeding at football and then turn into The Rock. He had a long journey. It was quite a significant journey that he went through. So kind of following that whole wrestling trajectory for me was, sorry, I keep looking down at this thing. I know I should be looking at this thing. But so I was just looking forward to that kind of journey of following that whole path. It's such an incredible, this season, I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy it. So
thank you, fellas. I appreciate it.
Time for one more question, and we'll go back to Jamal.
Hey, Jamal.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Amber did. Okay, yeah. Well, Bradley, I'm gonna start with you. All you guys have all these physical traits of The Rock and everything else, I read that before your screen test, you ran a marathon or something and everything else. So I wonder, when you relate to The Rock, how much do you relate to just being this physical workout guy that he does? Seems like he puts so much energy into his physique and working out, and it gives him a payoff. How much is running and doing stuff like that for you? And then my second question was, for all you guys, I know y'all probably try to inherently pick up traits of The Rock, but because your characters in sync, how much does Uli pick up on a little thing that Adrian do, and Bradley, the Uli is so forth?
Yeah, I think for me, leading up to the show, I didn't work out religiously. That wasn't me. I grew up playing sports. I've always been active, and I ran marathons, but in the gym, that wasn't me all the time. And I think adopting that kind of headspace was a big thing, but it's really even bigger than that. It's just I ran that marathon before, my studio test for this, because I wanted to push myself, and I wanted to remind myself that it's that hardest worker type mentality. It really is that you can do anything that you put your mind to, and so much of it is mental. And I think, that philosophy kind of followed along with me. And then I worked out more as I have been on the show, but I think it's really about that kind of mentality.
In regards to picking stuff from these two guys' performances, I think for me, the warmth is so important, particularly between Dwayne and Atta. That's such an obvious relationship, not just in the show's context, but in general. We see it a lot on social media. They're such a tight unit. And so that's evident in both Bradley and Adrian's performances, is that you get to see that warmth and that relationship. So for me, even though, Stacey and I are quite close in age, but it felt important to maintain the love and the warmth and the relationship. It was such a journey that they went through poverty, moving cities, just there's a lot there. So I think for me, the performances came from from this too.
I picked up on little notes of like with Uli, his determination going through that age, and he's really finding himself a lot more. And there's a lot of strength in his core values in his family around that time. And around my time, he's finding out what's more important. And with Adrian's so smooth, and Adrian's like the coolest cat. And I think there's that amazing balance of having the coolest cat, but also like, prioritizing family and having like good, strong core values. I think that culminate between all three of us, and it magically happens. Like we said, it just kind of, we don't really force it.
Thanks very much for joining us, guys. It's really great to see you, and congratulations on the show getting a new season and everything. Joseph, love the character, love all the energy that you bring to it. Kind of wondering, your research into the role and everything. Are you even bigger than the real Rocky, or are you trying to, like just more or less mimic him? Because he certainly seems like a big character from how you're doing him.
Yeah, he was a big, larger-than-life character. Me, in my regular life, I am not like that. I'd stay home and play Call of Duty all day. I definitely had to just take that coolness from where I could find it. My dad, he's a big, larger-than-life character like that. My uncle, I'm surrounded by a lot of funny people in everyday life. And one thing that I really held on to during filming was Dwayne. He told me that his dad can make anyone feel like $1 million, can make anyone feel like they can do anything. And I just sort of kind of kept that in the back of my head.
Yeah, very cool. And Stacey, you have such a wonderful, warm relationship with everybody. And I'm wondering, you have had the chance, obviously, to meet with The Rock's mother and everything. And you get that from her, or you're kind of, what have you learned from your dealing with The Rock's mother?
Definitely. I've met at virtually only, just because of COVID and sort of where we are in the world. But she's a loving mother, and I think before I started, and people will be like, oh wow, you've got this pressure because you're playing The Rock's mum. I'm like, well, back then she was a mum, and she loved her son, and she did what she had to put her child first, and all these things. I'm a mum myself, so I can relate to that kind of thing, and that was really the core for me in terms of portraying her. It wasn't about all this that obviously came later, but the beginnings of it is really just a mum loving her son and wanting the best for him, and how she sort of structured their lives, and the things that she would come along and she'd sort of push to the side. In season 1, we saw her trying to partially kind of pursue her singing career, and then, kind of putting that to the side, and the things that she has to deal with Rocky and the whole wrestling world. But first and foremost, she's a mum loving her son. And so that was always the kind of driving force in terms of playing the character. And I definitely, you see it now, whenever Dwayne posts things on Instagram or whatever, and mum's right there and she'll pop in and give him a kiss on the forehead or whatever. And I'm like, as the mum, like that doesn't go away. Your baby's 50 years old, but it's like she's still there doing that. I'm like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Very nice.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to Nerds of Color.
Hi, Joseph and Stacey. I'm excited to speak to y'all. I've been a big fan of the show. I kind of just want to, jump right into how do y'all develop your dynamic, having to jump around different timelines? And I'm sure this shoots out of sequence. How do you touch base with one another to be on the same page as Dewey's parents?
Yeah, it's that's definitely something that it has to, well, for me, it gets marked out on the script. And it's just a little reminders, because like you say, we're in 3 different timelines, and not only that, we've got 3 different actors playing our son. The boys themselves, I've always said they have a very similar energy as actors and as the character, obviously. but they're so easy to work with, and they're very similar in this kind of like open generosity that they have. That's very easy to love them and work with them as you know, playing that role. Joseph and I, it's a roller coaster, because not only for themselves and their marriage, but the outside forces of fame and money and things that come along with it, and then having to also kind of be the secondary to watching Dwayne's rise. So I think it's really just kind of being a little bit meticulous in terms of the script and just reminding yourself, because you know, you don't want to kind of show up and see and be like, what year is it? Or like, not only like filming out a sequence, but sometimes that happens within a shooting day. Like there's been a few days that it's like you're old in the morning, and then you're young and back in Hawaii by the afternoon, and so it's a full you know, makeup and costume, and the hair length changes, and also all that sort of exterior transformation also helps to remind you, like, yeah, this is where we're at. We're, you know, in Tennessee and it's cold and it's winter, and then by the afternoon we're in Hawaii and it's hot, and so yeah, hope that answers your question.
We would, you know, shoot one day. We're doing, you know, we start the morning off with, you know, little Adrian, and the next we end it with Uli. But thankfully, I had Stacy there, because she'll tell you, I'm the one that's asking, hey, what year are we doing today? I'm the least prepared out of everybody, and Stacy knows everything. As long as I'm
like, no, remember we just had that massive fight, and now we're in the thing, and we're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, you know. Yeah. Wait, are we rich? I was like, are we rich now, or do we have it? No, that's right. Remember, we got evicted, and I think, yeah, okay, cool. You know, sort of just reminders.
I get it. No, but yeah, I think the difficult part was on the makeup changes. If we had to do, it's like almost 2 hours of makeup, just and then, you know, back and forth. Sometimes we have to put it on, take it off, and put it back on. It's just like but. Yeah, I think the fans are gonna be very happy with it. It's definitely a lot in this season, a lot of good stuff in this season.
Thank you.
Thanks. And now we'll move on to Nerds Rule the World.
Hey, Stacy and Joseph, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. For the question I've been asking everybody is, on a personal level, what were you looking forward to the most when you got the go-ahead that season 2 is popping off, on a personal level and on a character level with this now new time period in Dwayne's life? Just Stacey, if you could go first. Thank you.
On a personal level for me is being able to be back with everyone working again, just because the cast after season 1, you know, become friends, become family. We're living together away from our friends and family for, you know, 5 months. So on a personal level, I was really excited. I was like, I can't wait to hug people again and see everyone and just, you know, spend that time, make more memories. A character level, I think you'll see this season that Uta, she just gets more involved with the wrestling world, and I'll just say that without giving too much away. But it was an interesting shift from what we saw in season 1 with what she was doing sort of as an individual for herself to now in this season you'll see her a bit more integrated into the family business, which I found really exciting, because it gave me the opportunity to do a lot more research and about the different wrestler characters and stuff, which was just really interesting.
Yeah, for me, personal level, I was actually happy to pay off my mom and grandma's debt. So praise God for that. And we got a second season. I was able to do that. And on a character level, I was excited to see more of the WWF Rocky and what we're gonna get into. Can't really touch base on it. Good stuff.
Thank you both so very much. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And now we'll move on to Sci-Fi Vision.
Hey guys, thanks for talking to us. Playing a real person as a character, how does that change the way you approach creating the character? Because obviously you can't quite bring as much creativity into it because you have to be a real person. How does that kind of change how you approach it?
I think there's with playing a real well, not only a real person, but a person who's still very much alive and present out in the world, is you always have to approach that with respect. And for me, that was really, as a Samoan woman myself, as a Samoan mother myself, it was very important to me that, and you'll see in season 2, we do go to a few kind of tricky places in terms of the marriage and what we know to sort of happen eventually with them. So it was always about looking at that and just going, okay, is this you want to bring truth to the story and honor that in that sense, but it's also doing it with a lot of respect. And I think after season 1, Asa sent us a video message, and she thanked everyone and about, you know, the portrayal of her family and her mother and you know, husband. And for me, like, we get a lot of praise for the show, praise for the casting, praise for the performances, but I was like, the only person that really matters is her, because you know, you're playing the woman. So to hear that from her, I was like, okay, cool, we're on the right track, you know. But yeah, there's obviously the that was your question, was what was the difference? I think it's that you like you were saying, you can't be as kind of free creatively, because you're not going to go to some sort of far out places. You still got to be true, and you know, it's studying every single video that you have of her and how she moves, how she talks. The relationship physically that she has with her son was really important for me, you know, and she's still quite tactile with him now as an adult. So any chance I got, I'm sort of in the scenes able to, you know, hug the boys, give them a little kiss here and there. And I'm just kind of latching onto those things that the real person is doing and showing now, and trying to kind of embed that in the performance. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, you know, I couldn't talk to Rocky, unfortunately, but when I talked to Dwayne, he gave me, like, you know, the core things about Rocky. And the main thing that really stuck out to me was him being able to make anybody feel like they can do anything, make everyone feel like $1 million. So I really hold on to that. But with it being a comedy and me not being a very outgoing, extroverted person, I had to look to people like my dad and my uncle and cousins I know that are very funny to me. And so I try to get as much as I can from everywhere, but still holding on to that, you know, core Rocky personality.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't